So you all know I love efforts to archive the creative output of our civilization for posterity as much as the big content cartels might hate it. This story is about Gaming Alexandria, a website dedicated to the preservation of the history of gaming. Not the games themselves, but associated media such as box art, manuals, and journalism. They've been funded in part through Patreon subscriptions, and that's where the trouble came in. Project head Dustin Hubbard was forced to issue apologies to the community because his effort to translate foreign games, mostly Japanese, relied heavily on AI. He was basically bullied into posting, "No Patreon dollars will be used to fund AI. I sincerely apologize. My entire preservation philosophy has been to get people access to things we've never had access to before. I felt this project was a good step towards that, but I should have taken more into consideration the issues with AI. I understand that using Patreon funding for this was not the correct way to go about it." He put in his own personal funds to compensate. I'm sorry, but Hubbard did absolutely nothing wrong. What was even the problem other than just the knee-jerk anti-AI bigots, probably not even real supporters but sent in from whatever back channel on Discord or Bluesky or wherever the mob is sent from, who just hate everything AI regardless of the benefit? I mean, how many of them were offering to help translate? I'm guessing none. You went from a situation where content was inaccessible to a wide range of people to one where it was accessible. Maybe not perfect, maybe not as good as a real translator, but orders of magnitude better than nothing. What, because AI makes mistakes? Like human translators don't? Anyone else remember, all your base are belong to us? His project is actually pretty awesome. He experimented with Gemini to make an OCR and translation process that could take scans of magazines and turn them into useful tools for Western researchers. Hubbard said he was blown away by the results. While he still recommends professional human translators where possible, he said that Gemini, quote, "gets you a large percentage of the way there quickly." And so he vibe-coded an interface to show the original PDF scans alongside the AI-generated text for easy comparison. He posted the code to GitHub and shared the code on his Patreon as a beta. The tool runs locally on Windows, Mac, or Linux, and it can search, download, and edit Gaming Alexandria's files from the cloud or work with local files. Quote, "This app has been something I never would have dreamed could exist. Now I can finally read and enjoy these Japanese magazines I've been scanning for years. A large part of that is due to your believing in my work and funding me, so thank you so much for that." And the toxic backlash he got from that was insane. Legend of Zelda historian Max Nichols wrote on Bluesky, "I have canceled my Patreon membership and I will no longer promote the organization." Nichols later deleted the message, the coward. A lot of the mob seems to have come from there. Figures. The Discord mob also called Hubbard privileged and said he burned his good faith with the video gaming community for offering them a gift to the world that could not have existed otherwise. But through all the noise, there was the signal of reason. Game preservationist Chris Chapman wrote, "There's no world in which they could ever get hundreds of thousands of pages translated by hand. Error-prone searchability is more useful to more people than none at all. You're piling on the free time project of one guy who hasn't even woken up yet. Take a minute." Author and journalist Felipe Pepe wrote, "Brother, I published a free game book with 650 pages and saw 5 different crowdsourced translation teams give up because it was too much text and too time-consuming. Famitsu alone is over 1,900 issues, each with 100-plus pages. That's one magazine from one country. Human translation would be ideal, but it's impossible." Lots of organizations like Project Gutenberg have been using non-AI OCR and translation tools in the past, with results that are far from accurate or sometimes even readable. But no mob screeching about those. AI does a much better job, although far from perfect, and the mob bunches their panties about how the imperfections make it all horrible and Hubbard should be ashamed of himself. The apology and the promise not to use Patreon dollars for AI just isn't enough for the mob, of course. One of them wrote, I encourage anyone currently supporting Gaming Alexandria on Patreon to pull their funding until they completely back away from ever using any kind of Gen AI ever again. This is an unacceptable response that doesn't seem to understand that any usage of it is unacceptable. You see how these extremists are? They don't actually care how well it works. It could be perfect and they'd still be against it. That's just an excuse. Also, this is one more example of why the last thing you should do is apologize to these people. Because they don't take it as an apology. They take it as an admission of guilt and use it as fuel to crank up their hate. They didn't behave the way they did because Hubbard did anything wrong. They did it because they hate it just to hate it. I was actually heartened by most of the comments in the Ars Technica article. Although you had a few of the haters and a few defending actual Luddism, mostly they were thoughtful and rational, which is another reason you shouldn't apologize to those who hate. They don't represent what people actually think. They're just bullies. Never give bullies what they want.